Hello, everyone. So this is Jaswina, your host for All the Live Chat with Friends, and we are back here for Tuesdays, your next page turners episode. And today we have author Macee Carson, who's going to go live with us to talk about her debut book, and we will also be talking about love, different is due to fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, which she has suffered from for about 9 years. Though this obviously makes life difficult for her, she does her best to prevail against her disability and do what she loves. As for her LGBT orientation, she is biromantic and demisexual. Marcy lives in Colorado with her cat, Kenny, and rat, Kevin, and spends her free time writing, sewing, gaming, and listening to podcasts. And she loves writing and storytelling and hopes to make it a full time job. Currently, she is working on the next book in the series, A Spark's Light, and a new series, Zoda. To support her writing, you can become a supporter on Patreon or simply follow her on social media. And you can find the links to her page below in the description box. I mean, if you're watching this on Facebook, if you are also watching this on Instagram and other platforms, you will also be able to find the links in the description box somewhere, below. So, without further ado, let's welcome author Marcy to the show. Hello, Marcy. Hello. Thank you for joining us for the Author Live Chat with Fans show, and I'm very happy to have you here, Marcy. So, how are you, Marcy?
I'm good, thank you. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Right. Marcy, could you actually tell us a little bit more about yourself? I mean, although I've actually introduced you earlier before adding you to the screen, but I think probably the
I'm sorry, you cut out. I didn't hear what you said.
be able to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, okay. I am a author, writer. I am a gamer. So I love playing video games, and I am also a very big anime and manga nerd, as well as a D&D nerd, Dungeons and Dragons. So I'm very interested in just stories in general, is what you can glean from that.
Mm-hmm. Right. So, as for your writing journey, I mean, how long have you been writing? And maybe you could tell us a little bit about that. Like, when did you start writing?
I've been writing pretty much everything from stories to songs ever since I was real little, like third grade. But when I started writing seriously was about, I think it was a year or 2 years ago now, and that
Mm-hmm.
was with writing Autumn's Fire. It was my first serious project.
Mm-hmm. Right. Um, so, about your first book, Autumn's Fire. So, when did you start writing the book? When you got the idea for the book, and how did all that actually happen?
Um, I got the idea from the book from a character backstory. I used to role play a lot. I still do with Dungeons and Dragons, but I used to role play on a role play website back in the day. and I had this character named Autumn, and I made her backstory, and that eventually became the book. The book is her backstory in and of itself. And I started writing that in November of 2019, and I finished it as of December 2019. So it only took me about a month.
Right. I mean, that was pretty quick. So, but how thick is your book, and how did you actually go about with the content of your book? About that.
For the content, it was I knew I wanted the story to be atmospheric, and I knew I wanted it to be just like the everyday life of this girl and what happens to her. And how I actually broke everything down was I sat down and I said, well, here's what I want her friends to be. Here's what I want to happen. And it only took me about an afternoon of writing and planning in order to figure out what I want, everything that I wanted to happen.
Right. So, in terms different but valid, love different but valid, right? So, maybe you would like to tell us a little bit about yourself being an LGBT, and what are the elements that you have incorporated in your book regarding love. And yes, maybe yes, you also mentioned that the book is not really about LGBT, so it doesn't have that intense elements of LGBT in that book, but still maybe you would like to tell us a little bit about your opinion on love being different but valid.
Yeah, so personally, I'm biromantic and demisexual. Biromantic, I basically love everyone on both sides of the spectrum. And demisexual means that I'm not sexually attracted to anyone unless I have a deep emotional connection with them. And it took me a long time to find that identity, but I did around right around the time I started writing the book. And I think that it definitely impacted me writing the book, because I really wanted to incorporate that piece of me, the little asexual piece of me that is on the spectrum, into the book. And instead of making Autumn demisexual, I made her completely asexual. And she definitely struggles with it in the book. It's again, like you said, not the whole picture. It's not the entirety of the book, but it is definitely an aspect.
Right. So, how thick is your book? I mean, like, in terms of number of pages, how thick is that book? And
it is 178 pages. So
it's
not
about,
very big.
yes, it's about nearly about 200, like about 20 pages or so to 200 pages.
Yes.
Right. So, now I think when it comes to your journey of writing, and you have self-published the book. Correct me if I'm not.
Yes, you're correct.
Yes, right. So in terms of self-publishing, I think a lot of authors out there actually struggle with self-publishing, because it may seem very overwhelming. It may actually get very overwhelming. But how did you actually do that? And maybe tell us a little bit about that journey of publishing. And yes.
Yeah. So for the book, I originally wanted to go through an agent and a publisher, but after I got 3 or 4 denial letters from the agents with no reason as to why, I got really down and out about it, and I decided I'm just going to do it myself. So I went through self-publishing. I published to originally about 10 different websites, and that required getting the book formatted, getting the book cover done, and doing all the advertising. But I did eventually do it. It was definitely trial and error. Nowadays, I don't think I would post to different platforms like I did. I think if I self-publish again, I'm gonna stick just to Amazon, because that's where I get all of my traffic from. It was difficult, but it's been rewarding.
Right. Out, and did you actually get it edited? How was the process of, or maybe beta reviewers? What was the feedback about your book? I mean, when you initially published it.
So my best friend and found family, her name is Haley Bramas. She was the one that edited the book, and she did a fantastic job. I loved all of her edits. She really made my writing shine. And then as for beta readers, I went through 3 beta readers, I think. And their feedback was generally just some areas that I had missed, some areas that I hadn't explained enough, stuff like that. And I fixed all of that, thankfully.
Right. So in terms of feedback from your readers, and maybe family and friends, once you have published the book, how has it been so far? And how do you actually go about marketing your book, or maybe telling your potential readers, like, looking for potential readers? Because I think the main struggle authors have is that, you just work a lot on your book, and then once it's out, then you go and find your potential readers. So in your case, how has it been, and how do you actually do you have any strategies that you have formulated, kind of like those kind of things? Maybe share with us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so as for family and friends, they have really loved the book. My mom insists she is incredibly proud of me for writing it. And my friends, they were all, the main takeaway I've had from them is that they really enjoy the sense of the feeling of betrayal that exists in the book. And then as for how I market, again, just with the publishing, it was a lot of trial and error. I did sponsoring of YouTubers. I had artists make animatics for it. I had some ads on Google and Reddit and YouTube, and none of that was really getting me anywhere, to be frank. But the thing I found that has been the most helpful has been going to the games that I love playing, like VR Chat and Arc and League of Legends and stuff like that, and just telling people about the book. And they have shown their love in massive waves through that. Whereas before I had sold maybe 7 copies. As of now, I've sold close to 50. So I'm very happy with how it's turned out.
So in terms of getting traffic to your Amazon page, right? So because you said you're actually focusing more on Amazon, so um, uh, how about organic traffic? and I know that a lot of traffic initially comes from people that we know because we send them the links and then they will, click on it. Organic, traffic, and how has it been for you? Like Amazon's uh, internal algorithm and how it works for you to drive traffic to your page.
The algorithm, I think, has gotten me a total of 2 sales. It
Uh-huh.
hasn't really been very successful for me. As I said before, the most successful thing that I found is just actually talking to people, and
Mm-hmm.
getting the traffic that way.
Mm-hmm. I see. Right. So, do you have website, and do you actually blog, or you have anything like that that you your followers? Is there anything that you are doing? Because I remember, I think we spoke about newsletter for a bit, and then I think you also have experience with newsletters. So tell us a little bit about that. Like, how has it been for you, like in terms of creating an online presence so far?
I've just been trying to um, create that online presence through doing interviews like this, and through um, creating my Patreon page and tweeting every now and then about the book. And that's been sort of successful from what I can tell. Um, Mostly, uh, I'm sorry, I
Mm-hmm.
completely forgot the second half of your question.
No, how do you actually your websites and
Oh,
your
yes.
blogs? Yeah.
I did try doing a newsletter on my website at first,
Mm-hmm.
but it crashed and burned. uh, I found that it was bouncing people off of the page way more than it was getting
Mm-hmm.
people to actually sign up for the newsletter.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that I can implement it properly, or
Mm-hmm.
if I can, I don't know how. Uh, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, but I know that it can be possible if you implement it when you already have a
Mm-hmm.
large audience.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I think right now, I think the only thing that you find working is the um, personal approach with people, and telling people about your book, and so do they also, your audience, do they follow you on Instagram or maybe Facebook page, and does that actually help you to grow your audience?
Yeah, I've had a few subscribe to me on YouTube and a few follow me on Twitter. But for the most part, we just stay friends on the games that I met them on, and they come back to me and tell me what they thought of the book and that they've
Mm-hmm.
recommended it to more people and that sort of stuff. So that's where I have the most interaction between my audience.
I think that is where the personal branding actually comes into the picture, because people know you, and then they have read your book, and they have trust in what you do, and they personally find it interesting, and then they start telling their friends. And I
Mhm.
think that's where the probably the lasting the connection that you make in this manner is going to last longer than some random people just coming and subscribing to you. Maybe in about 2 weeks time they just unsubscribe to your newsletter because they don't find it interesting anymore, right? So
Right.
in terms of your new book, I think you're working on your upcoming books as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I actually just finished A Spark's Light, which is it is technically the sequel to Autumn's Fire, but it can be read as a standalone novel.
Mm-hmm.
And I just finished that, I think, 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And the edits got back, and I finished those. and now I'm working with an illustrator for the book cover,
Mm-hmm.
and applying to more agents to see if I can
Mm-hmm.
get it to publishers.
Mm-hmm. So this time around, you are actually looking to the possibility of going with the traditional publishing route.
Yes, I
Awesome.
I think that uh, self-publishing has its merits, but
Mm-hmm.
traditional publishing, I really want to try my hand at, and see if I can get more success in that field. And if it doesn't work out, then I will self-publish again, and it's no big deal.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I mean, I think the opportunity to self-publish is always going to be there. Like, it's always an option that you will ever have, forever. But I think in terms of traditional publishing, to get your name out there, I think that is definitely an excellent way of doing things, especially So here is the list of all your social media uh, links that I've actually added to the video, and I think people will be able to click on it and check out what you do more. And so your books, the uh, the themes of your book, do you actually get the ideas from gaming? Where does it come from?
um,
Like,
I definitely get a lot of my inspiration from gaming, uh, like Dungeons and Dragons specifically. The
uh-huh,
fantasy atmosphere I love so much.
mhm.
So that has given me a lot of inspiration when writing my books.
Uh-huh, uh-huh. Right. I think, which is why I think a lot of audience from your gaming fraternity is able to relate to the book. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's where the connection is coming from. So, in terms of your family and friends, what do they think about the book, and uh, especially your friends, or maybe those that know you, your colleagues, what do they think about the book after the book is out?
Um, the Wait, so which book? The Autumn's Fire or A Spark's Light?
The Yeah, the Autumn's Fire.
Okay. Yeah, so um I know that one of my friends, his name is Max, he blew through the copy. He loved it a lot, and he just absolutely blew through it. He read it in the span of, I think, a day. Uh, that's the same for my other friend Noah. He loved it. He loved the atmosphere and the, as I said before, the sense of betrayal, and the emotions that I really go into for the book, has been a really big standout among my friends that they like.
Right. So, in terms of I think when we are talking about love, different but valid, right? So,
Mhm.
do you plan to incorporate more of that in your upcoming books? Um, would it?
I do have representation in the next book, of course.
Mhm.
The uh, One of the main characters, Jo, she is a lesbian woman. So there's that. And then Autumn, of course, is panromantic. So that carries over as well.
Um, and I think you actually told me personally that in Autumn's Fire, I know that there's nothing really much about LGBT, like not
Mhm.
really about that. But in your upcoming books, are you planning to actually keep that intensity the same, level at the same level, or do you plan to actually bring that aspect out a little bit more, or focus on that a little bit more?
For Zauda, that's going to be the book I write after A Spark's Light gets published. That will have a much closer focus on a bisexual relationship.
Mm-hmm.
So there's going to be that one. But for the rest of the books that I have planned right now, I will include representation, but I won't make it the whole picture of the book. And that's because I feel that for me personally, my identity is a part of who I am. It's a big part of who I am, but I don't think that it's my whole story, if that makes sense. Like I have a lot of other things around me that happen. I have a lot of other pieces to me and my
Mm-hmm.
story that I want to
Mm-hmm.
incorporate, and I want the same to be said for my characters. It's not just their
Mm-hmm.
orientation, it's everything else about them and their story.
Mm-hmm. Right. In terms of the message, I mean, do you actually have any specific message that you would want to relay to the audience out there, or is it just purely for entertainment purpose? Or what do you hope that readers would take from your book?
Um, from my book, I'd hope that they just enjoy the story.
Mm-hmm.
I very much wrote it as this is an everyday life of a person in a fantasy world. And
Mm-hmm.
even without the fantasy elements, she's a normal girl. She has normal
Mm-hmm.
problems. Uh, so like, and that includes her asexuality and her her struggles with friends and
Mm-hmm.
her struggles with her boyfriend and
Mm-hmm.
everything else that happens.
Mm-hmm. Right. Speaking about disability, I mean, that also represents, I mean, that's a part of who you are as well.
Mhm.
So, do you have any characters, disabled characters in your book, or, is it one of the aspects in your book?
I do have one deaf character in my book. He is definitely not at the forefront of the
Mhm.
book, as like he wasn't really a big part of it, but I still wanted to include him because I did think it was important um,
Mm,
to have that representation. But for the most part, where I'm going to have a disabled character at the forefront will be my book, Zauda,
mhm,
where the main character will be disabled.
mhm. Right. So, being a disabled person, um, how does it affect your everyday life and your writing journey, especially? Um, Maybe you would want to tell us a little bit about fibromyalgia and the difficulties that you have had so far, and maybe how do people view you, and what are the things that you want to tell people out there when people with disabilities?
Um, so fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome, how I always describe them to my friends that don't know about them, is that I'm basically always in pain and I'm always tired.
Mm-hmm.
And that comes with a lot of symptoms, but that's just the basis. And essentially, it impacts my everyday life a lot. I can't get out of bed some days, and then other days I just have a really hard time getting through anything because I have brain
Mm-hmm.
fog and then I have pain and all that kind of stuff. So when it comes to writing, some days are great and I can get a lot of words down. Like I think I said anywhere from 1,000 to 6,000. Those are the really good days. But most
Mm-hmm.
days I'm probably only going to get maybe 100, maybe 500 words down. And as a disabled person, um, fibromyalgia is definitely one of those uh, fibromyalgia and chronic fatigue syndrome is definitely some of the disabilities that are not well known, nor are they very well accepted. Even in the medical community, it's difficult to talk to a doctor and say that you have these disabilities. Even when you're diagnosed with them, some doctors will still question you on it and make sure that you have it, kind of thing. Even if you have supporting documentation, which is fun. So I would say, if there's anyone else out there with fibro or with CFS, like, it's possible. You can do what you want to do. It's gonna suck for a while, but you can. And to the people without those disabilities, I just want people to know that people with our disability exist, and that we should be recognized.
I think, how has your, in terms of your writing needs and support from your family, I mean, do they, like, respect your time that you take to write, and um, how do they actually support you? I mean, give you
My
direct
mom,
support.
my mom helps me a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She helps make sure that I'm taking care of myself. Helps,
Mm-hmm.
and when on the days that I can't take care of myself, she helps me take care of myself. So that includes like cooking, cleaning, helping me
Mm-hmm.
get dressed on the days that I can barely walk, that sort of stuff. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but other than that, she's just generally very supportive emotionally. She knows when I want to write. I have all the go ahead to go ahead and write.
Uh-huh. Right.
So
I
she
think,
definitely gives me the time and space to do
the
that.
kind of environment and the kind of, I think, space that you need to, empty your thoughts and just, get it all, you know go into the piece of paper that you're writing on, maybe on the laptop. I think we definitely need the space to write. I think, and silence, most of all. I think, which really helps, because I think an environment without interruption is definitely essential to, write, and to even think. So I think, that is where the support from family members become very crucial. I think,
Mhm.
to, help you, enable you to write without interruptions. So yeah, what when can we expect the new books to be out, and do you have any, like, kind of like a timeline for that yet? um,
I don't have a timeline for when a Sparks Light will be out just yet.
mhm.
But Autumn's Fire is already out. You can get it at my website,
Correct.
maceecarson.com.
Correct.
And a Sparks Light, I'm hoping, will be out within the next half a year. I'm hoping.
Mhm. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Right. So, and where can, I think you actually mentioned your website, but I think it has been updated, because I saw your Wix site, and now it is, maceecarson.com, right?
Yes, maceecarson.com.
maceecarson.com, and I'm gonna actually post it here. So this is the one, right?
Yes.
Right. So I think, here, this is where we can all actually catch up with your writing updates, and most probably. So if you're going to be on Amazon, I think, even if you go for traditional publishing, the book still is going to be on Amazon.
Yes.
Definitely, I think, right. So if readers are going to follow you on um, Amazon, like, follow the author kind of, the option. So if they go and click on it, I think they will be able to um, see or get your updates when you have, updates on your page. I think I will be sharing screen. Yes, let me just share the screen to you. So just to show them where they can get the book. So this is where they can get the book, right?
Yes, that's correct.
Correct. So this is where they can get the book, and it's on Kindle as well as on paperback. They can get it as paperback as well, right?
Yes. And then I also just recently released my audiobook, which you can get through my website itself.
Awesome, right? So yes, you have about 177 pages, and it basically falls into the fantasy romance, futuristic romance genre, right?
Yes, I would say it's fantasy slice of life with romantic
Mm-hmm.
elements,
Mm-hmm.
and that is only just because it's it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't end the way most romances end. So I don't think I can completely categorize it as a romance, but it does have romantic elements.
Awesome, right? And I would also like to share the screen to your website, which is maceecarson.com. So let's have a look at that. Yes, so this is the one, right?
Yes.
Awesome. So I think if yes, this is the audiobook,
Hmm.
right? Yes, and if we would click on buy now, it will be redirected to Amazon, right?
Yes.
Correct. So I know you also have a promo video over here,
Yes.
which they can actually watch on YouTube as well. And you have a little bit about yourself over here. Yes, and you also have a YouTube channel. So, what is it mainly about? I mean, your YouTube channel. I mean, is it about gaming or is it about? Um,
It started about gaming and vlogging, but right now it's mostly just book updates.
uh-huh, right. So, do you actually go live and talk about your book, or do you post anything about you talking about your book, or or
Um,
is it just yeah?
when I was recording the audiobook, I went live and
Mm-hmm.
read the book live.
Mm-hmm.
And I will probably do the same thing for when A Spark's Light is published, and I want to do the audiobook for that.
Awesome. Right. So, how has it been? I mean, so far, in terms of YouTube, I mean, the support from the YouTube community.
The YouTube community has been pretty supportive.
Uh-huh.
Um, I get comments every now and then from people that message me that say that they found my book through the YouTube algorithm,
Mm-hmm.
or just people that I've recommended uh, the book through a
Mm-hmm.
game that have found my YouTube channel, and then they
Mm-hmm.
like that. So it's been
Mm-hmm.
supportive.
Because over here, I think I can actually see, and maybe I would also share and to your YouTube channel. I think I can see a lot of characters. Maybe these are the animations for your book. I think,
Hmm.
if I'm not wrong.
Yes, those are the
And
three animations, and then the first
awesome.
chapter of the audiobook.
Yes, and I think these are all about games, the games that you play,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Right. Awesome. So we have about quite a number of videos over here, and so you're here as drblanket.com, Dr. Blanket, right?
Yes.
Right. So, Macy, and I mean, like, for your readers, what do you want to actually tell your readers out there? If do you have a message to your readers out there, and do you want to also talk about your book a little bit more? Tell about your book to people out there so that if they want to check it out, they can actually check it out, and if you have anything to tell them, then tell us the message that you want to relay to the audience.
Okay. So for my readers, I just want to say thank you. I hope that you enjoy Autumn's Fire and the next book that I put out and the next books after those. I really just hope you enjoy them. But to new readers or people that are looking at maybe getting my book is about a meadow elf named Autumn, who is a recluse for most of her life, but then everything changes when she meets this wood elf from a neighboring village named Creel. And the story is about him teaching her about his culture, the forest that he's from, and a budding romance. And overall, it's a story of friendship, love, magic, and betrayal.
Right. So Macee, I think we drawing close to the end of the show. Thank you so much for actually joining us uh, and sharing a little bit about your book, and also talking to us a little bit about your sexual orientation, and also your preference, and your disability a little bit. And I think it has been an interesting uh, topic to talk about. And I think you incorporating your the disabilities, and also your sexual preference orientation on into your book, I think will help people to open up their horizon, and look at things from different perspectives. I think the more people write about that, I think the more awareness that can be created, right? And we can actually promote inclusivity more in that sense. So thank you for doing that, and thank you so much for actually joining us today and talking about your book. And hopefully, we will meet again next time when you have new books out. And what I'm going to do after this is that I will be uploading the same video, I mean, our video here on different platforms. I will be uploading this on YouTube and also on Instagram, and I will be shredding this long interview into many pieces of short snippets, so that people can actually catch up with the important aspects of our long interview easily. And I think it will provide value to you over and over again, I mean, as people watch it, you know over time. So I'll be sending you the links shortly. And thank you so much for joining us, Macee. I'm happy to have you here, and hope you have a great week ahead, Macee. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye bye.
Bye.